Hello and a big welcome to part 10 in our series London Bound, our narrowboat journey along the Grand Union Canal from the Midlands to London, through London and out onto the River Thames. In part 10 we start the journey at Denham Deep Lock. From there we'll be travelling through Uxbridge and further south along the Grand Union Canal to Uxbridge Junction. At Uxbridge Junction, the Paddington Arm of the Grand Union Canal goes off into central London, but this episode will finish at Uxbridge. Quite a lot to see along the journey. Big contrast between countryside, urban areas and countryside again, although we are travelling further into central London. Please enjoy the film. Anybody who's watched before, watches this episode, thank you very much. Please feel free to subscribe, comment and like, and hit the notification bell if you want to be informed of future episodes in this series. Please enjoy the film, and again, thank you very much for watching. On the map, we will leave our mooring where we stopped overnight between Denham Deep Lock and Bridge 183. We then travel down the Grand Union Canal, passing through Uxbridge Lock, through Uxbridge itself, and then through Cowley Lock. We spent 2 nights on Cowley South Visitors Moorings. The white area on the map indicates a kind of park area, and there were some shops nearby. After passing the Slough Arm, we continue down the Grand Union Canal until we reach the Uxbridge Junction, where opposite the bridge there is a large Tesco supermarket. We will then travel through Uxbridge and on to the Paddington Arm, but that is for the next instalment in this series of London Bound. So we had stopped the night just below Denham Deep Lock and the moored boats that followed shortly afterwards. Interestingly, I had met up with a gentleman that morning before we set off. He had an old narrowboat with many large plastic containers on it, and he went around the waterways of London emptying people's pump-out toilets. So he very kindly offered to bring his boat down. He moored alongside us and he pumped our toilet out before we set off. Here you can see a great contrast between the old bridge and the new, or fairly recently built, A40 road bridge. Quite noisy around that area with the traffic. We're heading along the canal now towards Uxbridge. There you can see a tug which pushed a squarish dumb barge in front of it. More of that later on. More interesting looking boats, including another lifeboat. I just wonder where people buy them from and where they've been before. Presume somewhere on a ship or on a oil rig somewhere. Beautifully kept gardens again here beside the canal, and a brief glimpse of an aeroplane as we're not very far from London Heathrow Airport. That's a fascinating narrowboat with its paddle wheel behind it to push it along. Unless of course it's just for show, and really it's just got a propeller, as most boats do. So we're just coming up to the lock at Uxbridge now. We're past Denham Marina. I had been thinking we might stop there for a pump out of our toilet if I hadn't had the toilet pumped out earlier that day. Looked a nice place to moor your boat. Just looking back at Denham Marina again. And here we see the start of buildings are being built up right to the edge of the canal. Another old working British Waterways boat. Quite a lot of people living on the boats. It was here really that the start of the canals being busy with moored up boats that people were living on started, particularly through Uxbridge. Some of them in various states of repair. Might be a bit damp on that boat with a hole in its superstructure. Another building actually being renovated or being constructed. We passed several pubs, which again I wish we'd stopped at. On the left now is the Uxbridge Boat Centre, with its engineering facilities. It has a chandlery, I believe, and also a dry dock. The canal's fairly straight here again, and compared to a narrow canal, it's quite wide. The next two bridges going across, I believe, are pipe bridges. What they're carrying, whether it's gas or water or electricity, I don't know. I did think about mooring up in this area, and I think it probably would be a good place to do so if you could find a space. Now that concrete that says 1934 on it has lasted really well. In fact, there's a lot of concrete bank repairs that were done at that kind of time. You see them right up in the Midlands. They'll say 1934 or maybe 1935 or 36. They've lasted so well. Obviously experts at that time in concrete repairs. Now we're just coming up to Cowley Lock, and in fact Cowley Lock is the last lock that we will pass through, because we will be turning off onto the Paddington Arm, and there are no more locks after Cowley Lock right through London until you get to Camden Locks. There were some volunteer lock keepers on here, and another pub. Very handy. Now we decided to stop after Cowley Locks. There was a visitors' moorings there, just on the left coming up now, and we have moored up. That's that tugboat again, which is pushing the small barge that now seems to have a little building on top of it. I think because of their length they couldn't fit in the lock in one go, so the little dumb barge had to be put through the lock, and then the tug came up afterwards through the lock and reconnected itself to the barge. I did ask their advice about going down this slough arm, but they said it was very weedy. So we're moored up at Cowley South Visitors Moorings, and the next day we decided to stop a day there, do some small ongoing repair jobs on the boat, but also we had a walk down the canal down to where the slough arm turns off, and there is a large marina there called Packet's Boat, Waterside and Marina. There you can see another view of an aeroplane which has recently taken off from Heathrow Airport. There's quite a pleasant walk along the side of the canal there. So back at Cowley South Visitors Moorings we're going to set off, and this will be our 22nd day of travelling. That's just looking back again to Cowley Lock. And it was this very nice wide beam boat just on the left here, which we'd passed when we were about to go through Denham Deep Lock. More interesting houseboats. In fact, boats of all shapes and sizes. That's quite a large one there. I presume quite a lot of these are liveaboard boaters. So we're just coming up to Packet Boat, Waterside and Marina again, where we had walked the day before. There's the remains of an old basin. Now we're just approaching Cowley Peachy Junction, where the slough arm goes off towards Slough on its 5-mile journey. Unfortunately, we didn't go down there. I wish we had, as I understand it is very weedy. and very straight. Buildings start to encroach on the side of the canal again. We pass another Tesco supermarket, which would be quite handy if you needed one. In fact, we will be visiting one quite shortly later this day. Some nice signs have been put up giving you directions and maps. We pass West Drayton railway station and another beautiful old canal bridge. I just wonder what it would have been like when the canal was originally built. How much countryside there would have been around here then. The railway runs along the side of the canal for a short distance. Unfortunately, you do find litter dotted about the towpaths from time to time. Now, these floating pontoons, I wonder if they'd been used during the Olympics. Wasn't too sure. There's quite a lot of them there. Some building work going alongside the canal as we pass through a business park area. Old information board. And then another straight section of canal. More flats. Interesting wide beam boat with somebody looking to build a kind of cover over the stern, I believe. And another little turn off there to another disused short arm that must have served some warehouses in the past. Ladies' underwear garment hanging from a tree. How it got there? Bit of a mystery. We pass under the railway now. And a building being demolished. Now we're just going to approach and pass a bus depot. And this bus here on the left looks as though it's kind of floating in mid-air. It's actually up on some hydraulic kind of lifting apparatus. Now if you just make out the white coloured bridge coming up, we are at Bulls Bridge Junction. To the left there, the Paddington Arm goes off into central London, and that's where we will be going next. But we're just going to moor up on the right hand side where you can see the boats are moored and go to Tesco again. Just before we do that, we're going to pass an old and very sadly disused dry dock area. Bit of a sorry sight really. It's a pity that isn't in use nowadays, as there is quite a shortage of dry docks for all the boats on the waterways. So we managed to moor up alongside another narrowboat, and I went and did the shopping round Tesco. That's Bull's Bridge again, where we're going to travel next, but that's going to be in the next part of our journey into and through London. So I'd very much like to say thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you stayed with it right to the end, give yourself a pat on the back. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Cheerio.